How did people survive winter 10,000 years ago? Picture this. You wake up before dawn, breath clouding in the frozen air. Above you, animal skins hang from crude wooden beams. The fire at the center of your shelter has burned down to embers. Outside, the wind is moving, low, constant, indifferent. There's no heater to switch on, no food in a refrigerator, no forecast warning you that the worst of the storm is still 3 days away. Just you, your family, and whatever you managed to store before the cold arrived. If it wasn't enough, no one was coming to help. This was life 10,000 years ago, and somehow, against ice, starvation, predators, and darkness, humans not only survived it, they survived it thousands of times over. So how? The world they lived in. The last ice age had only recently loosened its grip on the planet. Glaciers still blanketed vast stretches of the northern hemisphere. Winters were longer and colder than anything we experience today, stretching on for months without relief. People lived in small, tight-knit tribes, 20, maybe 50 individuals at most. No cities, no roads, no agriculture in most of the world. Just small bands of humans moving through a landscape that was beautiful, abundant in summer, and merciless in winter. Summer was generous. Animals roamed freely, plants burst from the ground, rivers ran heavy with fish. There was enough if you worked hard enough and wasted nothing. But winter stripped all of that away. Animals vanished, plants disappeared under snow, rivers locked solid under ice. The world went quiet in a way that felt less like peace and more like a warning. In that silence, a single bad decision could kill you. The race against the cold. Survival didn't begin in winter, it began in spring. From the first warm days of the year, tribes were already thinking ahead, hunting, gathering, drying, storing, preparing. Every kill was an opportunity. Every berry bush, every nut tree, every root bed was mapped and harvested before the frost could take it. Meat was sliced thin and dried in the sun. Fish were hung over smoky fires until they hardened. Berries were pressed and preserved. Nuts were cached in cool, dry places. The math was brutal and simple. Everything you failed to store in summer was something you couldn't eat in February. People understood this at a bone-deep level. Hunger wasn't an abstract threat. It was a memory passed down through generations, written into the way they moved through the world, always counting, always preparing, always aware of what was coming. Fire, the line between life and death. Of all the tools that carried humanity through the ice and darkness, none mattered more than fire. Fire was warmth, it was light, it transformed raw meat into something safe and nourishing. It held predators at bay. And it was the reason humans could inhabit landscapes, frigid steppes, northern forests, frozen riverbanks that should have been uninhabitable. Ancient people treated fire accordingly, not as a convenience, but as something sacred and irreplaceable. Some groups kept fires burning continuously through the winter months, tending them in shifts, feeding them carefully. Because losing a fire in a snowstorm wasn't just an inconvenience. Reigniting one could take hours of exhausting labor, rubbing, striking, coaxing a spark into something that might actually hold. In the coldest temperatures, fingers went numb quickly. Wet wood refused to catch. Fire wasn't useful. Fire was survival. Clothing that could mean the difference. We complain when the temperature drops 10 degrees and we've left our jacket at home. Ancient humans faced minus 20 degrees Celsius winters wearing clothes they had made entirely by hand from animals they had hunted themselves. The skins of deer, bison, bear, and reindeer became coats, trousers, boots, mittens, and sleeping blankets. But the key wasn't just having animal hide, it was knowing what to do with it. Hides had to be scraped clean of fat and tissue, softened through a painstaking process, then cut and stitched into fitted garments. Archaeologists have found bone needles tens of thousands of years old. Our ancestors weren't draping themselves in rough pelts. They were constructing layered, tailored clothing that trapped air close to the body, the same principle behind the insulated jackets we wear today. This wasn't primitive, it was ingenious. And without it, entire populations would have died. The shelters of 10,000 years ago weren't built for comfort. They were built to hold heat. Depending on where people lived, They constructed homes from timber, stone, mammoth bone, or thick hides stretched over wooden frames. Entrances were deliberately small. Every gap in the walls was a place where warmth could escape. Families slept pressed together, sharing body heat through the night. The fire burned at the center, and the smoke it produced drifted upward and out through a gap in the roof. By modern standards, these shelters were dark, smoky, and crowded. But they worked. And in a world where temperatures could stay below freezing for weeks at a stretch, working was everything. The real killer: hunger. Most people assume the cold was the great danger of prehistoric winters. It wasn't. It was hunger. Cold could be managed, with fire, with clothing, with shelter. But when the food ran out, there was no solution. A tribe that hadn't stored enough could find itself snowed in, unable to hunt, watching their supplies dwindle toward nothing. Children were the first to suffer. Then the elderly. Archaeological evidence shows clear signs of malnutrition in ancient skeletal remains, periods when entire communities teetered on the edge of starvation. Some winters were simply harder than others. A storm that lasted too long. A migration that didn't come. A cache of stored food that had spoiled. Any of these could tip the balance. Winter wasn't just cold. Winter was a test. And it asked the same question every single year, without mercy. Did you prepare enough? You were never alone, and that was the point. A single person in a prehistoric winter was as good as dead. A tribe could survive. Survival required specialization. Some members hunted. Others processed food and made clothing. Some cared for the young and old. Others maintained the fire. Everyone contributed something, and everyone depended on everyone else. But perhaps more importantly, tribes carried knowledge. The right berry to eat, the wrong one to avoid. The hunting grounds that stayed active longest into winter. The technique for keeping a hide supple in the cold. The signs that a storm was building on the horizon. This knowledge lived in people, in grandparents, in experienced hunters, in the women who knew how to turn a raw hide into a coat. It was passed down through stories, through demonstration, through years of watching and learning. Humanity's greatest advantage over every other creature in the Ice Age wasn't our strength, our speed, or our teeth. It was our ability to accumulate knowledge across generations and share it within communities. That's what kept us alive. What winter built? Winter shaped us in ways that echo through everything humanity has built since. The pressure to prepare forced long-term thinking. The need to cooperate forged social bonds. The struggle to survive drove innovation, in materials, in tools, in technique. Every problem winter created, humans eventually solved, and then passed the solution on. It's easy to look at the ancient world and see only hardship. But those winters also produced something extraordinary. A species that refused to stop adapting. That looked at an environment designed to kill it and found a way through, year after year, for thousands of years. The chain that reaches you. Here's the thought that should stop you in your tracks. Every person alive today is descended from someone who survived those winters. Not just one brutal season, but hundreds of them. Thousands of them. Through ice storms and starvation, through predators and darkness, through every disaster the cold could throw at a small band of humans huddled around a fire. Not one link in that chain broke, because if it had, just once, in the right place at the right moment, you wouldn't be here. So the next time you step inside from the cold, feel the warmth hit you, and think nothing of it. Remember what it cost. 10,000 years ago, staying warm through a single winter was the hardest thing a human being could do. Your ancestors did it thousands of times, and they did it so that eventually, one day, you wouldn't have to.